What's up, y'all? I'm Master P with the last prison project, and we talk about 520 Cannabis Freedom Day. We talk about all the lives that have been thrown away for small amounts of cannabis, just cannabis in general, when cannabis is legal in 34 states. I'm sitting there with somebody that been through the system and been through the injustice. Give me a name and
My name is Dante West. I'm with the Last Prisoner Project, and we here to just acknowledge, and I'm privileged and honored to be next to Master P. He has a tremendous stage, and he's all about education awareness. I mean, we can't make a change without educating the public and educating the people that we vote into office. So, you know, it's a pleasure to be here with Master P. Dr. P.
Yes, and Dante, I want you to kind of tell your story so our audience could actually understand what you've been through and what was your situation.
Yes, sir. So in my situation, I was going out to play college football. Me and my friend Deshaun Perkins, which was my co-defendant, and we had 3 Hispanic males with us. We was in a 2-car convoy. We were going to Kansas. I'm from Stockton, California. Lived in Oakland, California, all through Northern California. Never had any ties to Kansas. My grandmother encouraged me to, you know, entertain the college atmosphere, which I really wanted to do. So we get on the freeway. We're heading down. We're heading all the way down to Kansas. You know, we don't know anything about it, and we didn't have anything in our car. But the individuals that was riding with us, you know, they had marijuana in their car. So we're traveling on the freeway. We're on the way to K-State University. As we get into Kansas, there's these troopers, there's state troopers that sit at the borderline of Denver and states that are legal. So they're sitting at the border, they see a Nevada license plate and they see a California license plate coming to their state. They follow us about 2 hours into the state of Kansas.
Wow.
They pull us over, they find a minute amount of marijuana. It was a joint that was in the trunk of a car that I didn't know my co-defendant had. He took a ticket, they gave us a ticket, they let us go. They brought out a power drill, they were drilling inside the car and you know, cuffed us on the side of the freeway, and they were asking questions about the car that was with us. Not too sure where they went, but I guess they went to go get something to eat. But we were traveling together, we were going in the same destination. They were just headed to Missouri. But as we arrived, they pulled us over for dirt on our license plate. That was a traffic violation.
Wow. So
you riding through, you know, travel from California, you get road grime, but the ticket was for the actual dirt, you know. So we get down to the college area. I told the officer that I was going to K-State University. We're going to 1210 Bertrand Street. I was meeting up with my friend. My friend was attending that college at the time. Offered to open his home, take a shower. You know, we'd been on the road long. We was gonna do our event the next day. So as we get out the car, we were waiting for the guys that we came with. You know, we're waiting about 20 minutes. And as we're waiting the 20 minutes, he invited us in the house, and there were these old guys walking around. And meanwhile, these guys, the officers were following us from the freeway, but we haven't done anything wrong. But they were all undercover, it seems like. So we walk up in, we weren't worried about it. We walk up to the school, we get stopped by the police. We get stopped by these ununiformed police, and they said, hey, you're detained. And we're like, for what? We just got put over the freeway, on the freeway at Junction City for a dirty license plate. Well, we're detaining you again because we believe you're doing something at this house. So I said, all right. They handcuffed us, they put us on the side of the sidewalk. As they go upstairs, they speak with the individual that we came to see, and they search his house. They find a bunch of Xanax, you know, painkillers in his house that wasn't even related to me. And he said he was gonna buy a pound of weed from me. 20 minutes later, a car comes up, a Lexus comes up, and they stopped the Lexus. The kids took off running. They got scared. They searched the Lexus, and they have no ties to the Lexus. They found packages of marijuana in the car. And they didn't even know, the guy in the apartment didn't know that the marijuana was in the car. It was 8 pounds in the car, but the individual said he was gonna buy 1 pound from Dante West, right? Wow. And that's how they charged me with the case, but it even gets unique. So I bond out, by the grace of God, I bond out, and when I bond out, I go back home. my grandmother died. You know, she was the person that was taking care of me. I never knew my mother not well, and never knew my father. So she passed away. My little brothers was 9 and 10 years old and going to school by themselves out there. So I get back in, I situate that situation. I'm flying back and forth to court. I get this court-appointed lawyer that asks for $5,000. You know, so I give him $5,000. I fly out the week of my jury trial because they were offering me 8 years of a crime I didn't do. So I was, you know, I was just saying, I'm not in. Yeah. So as I'm coming out there that week, we go to court. He said, Dante, I come into his office. He says, Dante. He sits me down and looks me in my face and says, I never read your case. I said, you never read my case? I go to jury trial tomorrow. He said, don't even worry about it.
Wow.
He pulls this motion out. He puts this motion out, and the motion says, I had gastroenterovirus, like a stomach flu, and I did not prepare for your case physically. I'm going to submit this to the judge. I have a doctor's note from the doctor. I'm going to submit it. I go in front of this judge. This judge tells me that you're going to trial tomorrow, young man, and you're going to trial regardless of the situation, right? And my attorney was like, why? I didn't read his case. He said, because your attorney had this case a whole year, and it's not my job to make him read the case.
Wow.
So I go to trial the next day. Eventually I lose in the trial. They put the guy on the stand that I spoke to about before on the stand. He testified that he was going to buy a pound of marijuana from me. I go to sentencing. I get a new lawyer, and they pull these mind-boggling, surprising the statistics up from the Kansas Sentencing Commission. This is a state case. They said 95% of people get probation. 5% go to prison. 1% each year they send someone to prison, and it was minorities that they were sending to prison at the time in the state of Kansas. So he presents this to the judge to get a compelling case for probation, and he sends me to prison. He sends me to prison for nearly 8 years. So I go to prison. I sit back and I think about it, and I'm in the maximum security prison for a marijuana charge, and I'm talking to individuals, and they say, there's no one in here like you that's serving that much time for a pound of weed. I had no prior offenses. I'd never been in trouble, no contact with the law, and they send me straight to prison. My brothers go to foster care, and it just kind of kicked a sense of motivation into me, right? So I go in there, and there's two type of people in prison. You know, everything that's in the streets is in prison. So distractions has come very easily. But I was able to, you know, have a sense of urgency to get home because I had these young boys in the foster care system. So I studied law. I read every law book that was available to me, outdated, updated. They had a LexisNexis. I read it. I read it so much where I found out I was reading the wrong things. I was supposed to be studying the losses to get a win. You know, I was studying all these people why they win, but if you study why they lost, then you educate yourself more. So I write this motion after 3 years I've been down. I write it for 3 years. While I'm doing that, I'm applying for clemency to the governor. The governor that just got elected, she was open about making marijuana legal, but the legislator that was in the office wouldn't make it get up to her desk. So as I'm working on that, I wrote 125 state representatives in the whole state of Kansas. I wrote 40 senators that were in the state of Kansas. Handwritten every letter, bought a whole bunch of stamps, letters. Only 4 people wrote me back. One person came and see me. It was Willie Dove, a black Republican out of Kansas. In the middle of COVID, I had COVID and everything. He came and he said, I'm gonna do everything I can to get you out of prison. But what was kind of shocking to me in a sense was when I asked him, I said, you know, when he asked me actually, he was like, I don't understand why people are going to prison for marijuana, and you're elected into the office, right? And he was like, I'm right next to the governor's office. You don't see the parole board. But it's just, it surprised me so much that these legislators are not too educated about individuals getting a second chance, right? So as I'm going down, I wrote the clemency. I submit the clemency at the same time. I submit my motion to be vacated and released. So as the two are working to get out, I get a call from a lawyer, a court-appointed lawyer. He says, I submitted the motion. The court says somebody's here to represent you. The lawyer comes and sees me in prison. He brings the motion I bring. He brings the motion that's, you know, edited and professional. He said, this is the best motion I've seen an inmate write. You know, it has errors. Let's edit it, but let's submit it. You know, 3 months down the line, I get a call from a lawyer, and he said, your sentence has been vacated. the judge granted your motion, you don't even have to go to a hearing. And it's the middle of a pandemic. I had COVID. I get released from prison last year on November. I get released from the prison system. But the district attorney said he's going to retry my case. So he doesn't want me to leave the state of Kansas. He wants to retry my case. The last prisoner project that came to my first court date, a board member came to my first court date. So, I was motivated. He said, the DA called me and the lawyer called me on some mediation. He said, you know what, young man, you take this felony and you'll be good to go, right? And I knew deep down that's not freedom. As I sit back as freedom, it's like you can't get loans, you can't get jobs, it's already a disadvantage to you. So I said, out of respect, I'm going to go to trial, even though you're going to offer me time served, because I'm standing up for something bigger than just, being free. It's not being really free, right? So I get into mediation. I talk to this district attorney. My lawyer advised against. He said people like you, just to be honest, you don't talk to the district attorney. That's something you don't do. But I'm going to ask him, since you're advising against me. And I said, yeah, I feel like I know how to be respectful and talk to him and speak from the heart and speak from truth. I spoke to him. I told him, I said the same things we just discussed, how it affects and it's a disadvantage. He said, I really didn't know how much a felony affects you like that. Give me a couple days and then I'll consider it. He calls me back in 10 minutes and says, I'm going to dismiss the case and I'm going to let you finally be free. And then he dismissed the case, and it's just, you learn so much in that trial and error, but it's just, more than anything, it's like what motivates you. And
but that's how God works. Like I feel like God got the last word. And even everything that you've been through, I know that you're going to be able to help so many other people. And I think that's what my life is. I've been through a journey to coming from poverty, coming from New Orleans, moving to Richmond, and just going through it. And just like you, in a similar situation, being in a car with people and not knowing who you with sometime and having to deal with whatever situations it is. And my life, I've been through that to where I thought that I'm good, but is the other people good that's with me at the same time? And I feel like that's where I'm at now in my life, that God spared my life and I was able to get out situations. And now I'm not looking back. At first, when I first got into trouble, I was angry and upset, like why this happened to me. And even sitting in the cell, you end up just like mad at the world at times. It's like, what is that gonna do? So, like you said, I started educating myself, bettering myself, and saying that my life not gonna end as a tragedy, it's gonna end as a testimony. And so that's what I love about 520 Cannabis Freedom Day, and that's what I love about the last prison project, and how connected and we able to help people and educate, because like you say, it's a lack of education. So if you don't know, you just caught up into it, you in the system, you throw it away. There's a lot of people that can't read or write or do what you was able to do, so that's a blessing. And I know people are serving life sentence because they just not educated to be able to put their whatever they caught up into, just to be able to put it into words, to put it to set up, like you say, to give it, because those lawyers have to write a certain way to be able to give that to the court. Like they don't do that for us. And especially as African American men, you literally just throw it away. And that's what I love about this project, that we're gonna educate our culture, educate our people. And like I said, nobody should be incarcerated for cannabis when they making money off of cannabis. And my thing is, I decided to say, not only be a part of the system, but if they making money off of us, why not is more African American, Latino owners of cannabis companies, owners of farmers, since this is legal. And think about, the government is making money off of this. So how could you lock somebody up? And we just have to educate our culture and educate the judicial system to where you're drawing away a lot of good people. Like, you don't seem like a person that's just ready to wreck up the world. You know what I'm saying? You seem like somebody that has a conscience, that want more out of life. Like, and I think that's how the devil works too. When you're trying to do right, you're trying to take care of your brothers. You've been through a tragedy, and then the hurricane comes. And that's how I look at it. And then it's like, it's the hurricane of life. And I done been through that. I lost a brother to the streets. I got another brother incarcerated. I done been through everything you could think of. And I think how God spared my life, that I'm supposed to be a testimony. And I use my life, and I use what I do as being a testimony, and not being afraid to grow and get better. Instead of challenging that negative energy, I'm like, you know what, let me challenge some positive energy, because I can't go back how much time they gave us or what they took away from us. I can't change that.
Can't get it back.
Can't get it back. But I can change the future. And I think that's what we're going to be able to do together. We're going to be able to change the future for a lot of people, so they don't have to deal with that injustice. And that's what I love about this project. Like, we actually is going to fight for people that's been wrongfully incarcerated, for injustice of cannabis, something that really that's legal now. It's almost like buying cigarettes now in 34 states.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's just like Dr. P said, we think about Michael Thompson, man. Michael Thompson was a guy spending a significant amount of time in Michigan, right? And right across the street from a prison was a dispensary. You know, what sense does it really make? It's just, and it's so mind-boggling how, you know, these states are just becoming emergent, and we don't even get an opportunity, you know, in a sense, because you come out and you're on parole. You're on parole and you got X amount of time to do, depending on the state.
And they know you're gonna fail because it's set up for
failure.
If you look at Faith Winslow, he was set up for failure. So think about it. This man was set up for failure. If you got a record, you got all this lying on your back, you uneducated, when you get to the streets, all you think of is, I gotta go back. I don't know nothing else to do. And that's the part that I look at, like, that's why I say the education and rehabilitating is so important. In getting companies to invest into projects like the Last Prisoner Project, knowing that we're gonna make sure we take care of the people. We're gonna touch the right people, because a lot of these companies are sending money for help, but they're not sending it on the front line, people that's on the front line to make a difference. So the first thing I want to thank the Last Prisoners Project for just having faith in me to be able to go out and be a voice for a brand that's committed to the injustice of prisoners that are incarcerated for cannabis. When you look at Faith Winslow, I feel all the injustice with this guy. He wasn't prepared. He shouldn't have been in prison for a life sentence for a $20 sack of marijuana, which is crazy. But that's the laws in Louisiana. Like Louisiana is probably the worst, that if you go to jail for something like that, they're gonna throw the book at you. And they're not educated to what's going on, because it's not legal there. So they feel like, this is your situation, you should know what you're doing, and if you get caught, then we throwing your life away. Which people that committed murders and all type of crimes, they're out free and get a shot because there's no evidence, no witness, they free. But for a $20 sack of marijuana that you're serving a life sentence, and this guy went to prison, got out in 2020, and lost his life in 2021. Because of a lack of education. And that's what I feel like, because if you don't know nothing, you go back to where you come from. And that's what we need to change. That's the negative cycle that we have to break. If you're gonna let a prisoner out and you realize that you did wrong by him and he's been incarcerated for over 12 years, you should have some type of reform to put them in a better environment before they go back to negativity or to a life, because all you know, because most people I know, once they come back home, well, this is all I know. They're going back to where they came from. And I know you know about Faith. And I mean, what do you think about that situation?
I mean, the situation is horrible. I mean, Faye Winslow just getting out of prison and you die, you know, and you really weren't supposed to be in prison anyway. You're supposed to be with your family, you know, and as you talk about a 22nd, you become a habitual offender. You know, in my situation, I grew up in Stockton, I lived in Oakland, but just growing up and I'm seeing the environment and I see, when I walk up out my house, all I see is drug dealers. I see nice cars. This is the people that I look at. You know, I don't think any further because this is all I know. And you see things like that, and you'll see the guy peel off and get on the main street, and the police will pull you right over. And it's like a domino effect. After time, I built this stack of paperwork on you. Once I get you, I really got you.
You're done.
You done. So the disadvantage we got is horrible. And then we go in the court system. You know, I walk into the jury trial. We go in the court system, no one looks like you, you know, or you have to take a plea because you're scared of what the real result is.
You don't want to get the long sentence, so you just plead bargain to, okay, I just take this.
You just take this. So Faye is just, he shouldn't have been in that situation. And it's like, he is a person that Last Prisoner Project story we rally around, and we want to definitely. It's like everyone has a story, you know. Faith is so inspiring, and we use all the stories to bring awareness in different ways because different stories touch people differently. And Faith is a very strong one. Just to be shot in the car, you know, in the middle, you know, right by his house, you know, with a young lady. It's just horrible. You know, it's a horrible. You know, condolences to Faith and his family, and her family. But he shouldn't have been in that position anyway, where he went to prison. You know, we got to do better. We got to educate and Master. Dr. P, it's a blessing, man, to have you here to use a platform because you're a powerful individual and not too many people, you know, could. But I know when you're motivated about something, no one can stop you. For sure.
Man, to be honest with you, like, I come from the streets, God changed my life, and I hope that people look at my story, look at your story, and be inspired and say that we can do better. We have to want it. And I hold myself accountable too, Dante, for a lot of stuff that I done in my life because I realized that you can't cheat yourself. And so I know there's a lot of good things I've done, but the wrong stuff I've done, I hold myself accountable and said, I know if I keep going this direction, the doors are gonna close, the walls are gonna close up on me. And so now that I have a second chance, which most people don't get, and I think there's a lot of good people that's on minor cases in prison that really mean well, but just trying to survive, trying to make it, and to do whatever to feed their family or take care of their family. So I think what I learned from my situation is I got to put my trust and faith in God, and I got to keep moving, I got to keep bettering myself. And so I know that you're going to go out and do well, and I know that you're going to be a testimony for a lot of people. And I know with this Last Prison Project that we're going to change lives, we're going to change the world. And so I'm just happy to be here with you, my brother.
Appreciate you, Dr. P.
Yes, I'm happy you're home, and I know that a lot of young people are going to be inspired by you. Like, how old are you?
28.
28. Think about it. Like, you got a whole life to live, and you got a chance to, you got a chance to make a difference. If you look at the Bible, people that was wrongly incarcerated for 30 and 40 years and got out and end up being great people. So I know that everything you've been through, I thank God got a bigger plan. And that's how you got to look at it. Like, we can't dwell on the past. We know what the mission is. And like we said, we're going to keep fighting till the last prison stand.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do. If you're in prison for marijuana, we coming to get you. You know, and we bring it in. Last Prisoner Projects, they bring so much awareness. I mean, you go on the website, lastprisonerproject.org. You go on that website, we got petitions, you know, where we can get these people. You can write the legislators. You can, and always what's important is you got to pay attention to who you vote in office. You know, each county, people just kind of pay attention to the president or the governor, but you are voting in district attorneys. You're voting in these people that sit down and they decide, you know, what is good and what is right, you know, so paying attention to that is always key. So,
and we want to vote in people that have compassion for lives, because nobody's perfect.